The jumpiness, yes. The jumpy is brutal. It can be brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants a jumper. Yeah. So what did you remember when you tried the air horn? Did we talk about that last week?
No. Well, we talked about it, but not the results because I hadn't tried it yet.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So I got myself an air horn. Welcome to Let's Boop Snoots. My name is Vero,
And I'm Heidi.
and today we're gonna boop some snoots.
Snoots.
Sorry if that's really high pitch in your ears.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Speaking of high pitched, Becky was high pitched barking. I think we were talking about
Oh
sounds and stuff like
yeah,
that last week.
when she
So
needs to go out.
yes. And so, but this time it was not because she needed to go out. I asked my son because I was sleeping upstairs and he was letting them out and I could hear them like romping around, Becky and Gibbon, my two dogos. And I think it was when Gibbon wasn't playing with her, then she would high pitch bark at him like, come on, come
Come
on,
on,
let's play.
what you doing?
Let's play. Yep. And I was like, make her
Yep,
stop because
yep,
it's
yep,
like
yep,
7:30 in the morning.
yep. He's like, but I want to play. It's like the first episode of Doug Days when he's like, I am awake. That means everybody's awake.
I think there was a meme that I sent you before. You know, there's a meme where it's like Kermit the Frog, but he's wearing like a dark hood, and it's
Oh yeah.
like sort of a play on a Star Wars like thing where it's like the darkness is asking you to do something like bad or whatever. And so it's like the dog is like he's like bark, and then the dog is like, but it's like 2 a.m. and he's like, do it. Because that happens sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
they bork in the middle of the night.
Bork.
The middle
Ralph
night borkers.
Ralph has been borking at dogs from inside the house.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What's his bork?
It's like a no, it's very low pitch. Just like it's almost like a growl.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it
Mm-hmm.
is it the warning bork?
Maybe. I don't know. Or is he like, hey, hey, hey? More like,
Hey,
hey, hey,
hey,
hey,
hey. Yeah,
hey,
a more intimidating
over here,
way.
over here. Look at me. Hey, look at me.
That's funny. That's funny.
I'm going to talk about teenager behaviors because I'm experiencing all of them.
Oh yeah? And have
Not
you
all
been
of
looking
them.
them up? Researching them
Yeah.
a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty good, but I can definitely, see a little bit of Ralph in some of them.
And some of the teenage research.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my
Yeah.
husband bought me the Time magazine and it's called The Minds of Dogs and there's a bunch of different articles. So I read a couple and I'll be booping about those. But you go ahead and kick us off with your Turnerger, your dog
My
Turnerger.
Turnerger.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at some behaviors just to see, like, is this what Ralph is going through?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not like too bad, but he's definitely doing some things that I'm like, oh, like he knew how to do this before, and now he's just like not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So they say selective hearing is one of them. His command is always pretty good.
Yeah.
So we take him to the dog park, and he always follows us. If even if he's playing with a dog and we yell his name, like Ralph, come, like he'll come to us. Like I would say like 95, maybe even more percent of the time,
Yep.
he'll usually run back.
That's
If
good.
not, it's just kind of like he'll follow the dog for a few seconds and then he'll turn back.
Mm-hmm.
Forgets how to follow simple commands. And this is
Oh
like an
yeah.
interesting one because there's sometimes where I feel like maybe 3 months ago, he
Mm-hmm.
would have done right away what I asked him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now he's just like, nah. And then I'll ask him again and again, kind of like sit. So, for example, like today, I bought some new pillows for a couch, trying to
Yep.
decorate.
Mm-hmm.
And I put them on the couch. And even like as I was walking from where I opened the pillows, like just to like take them out of the bags
Mhm.
and bring them to the couch, he was like jumping to grab them.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was like, leave it, no. And then I put them on the couch. And as I was doing that, I had to like hold him back so he wouldn't get them.
Yeah.
So I asked him to sit. And then he just didn't do it right away, whereas before he would have. So the pillows were there and he was fine until I started like moving them, like just a little bit on the couch. And then he would jump and try to get them. So I'd
So
have to do,
when you were holding the pillows and he's jumping at you and you said sit and he didn't, then what did you do? You asked him to sit again?
yeah. And then when he did, I'd wait like a few seconds
Yep.
and then I'd say, good boy. And
But
then
then
I'd start walking again.
yep.
And if I would watch him while I was walking. And as soon as he looked like he was going to jump,
Mhm.
I do the like, eh.
Yeah.
And then he would stop. But
Okay.
it's like nonstop from like on my way to the couch. But he stopped jumping. But
Yeah.
you can tell he was like he just really wanted to. Hmm. And he's a jumper.
Hmm.
Like if you're holding something in your hands,
Yeah.
he'll try to get it.
That little punk.
Yeah. So if I'm like walking, because we have two entrances, and
Yep.
Ralph only uses one of them because he's not allowed in the kitchen.
Yep.
So sometimes I have to go get some shoes at the other entrance. And as I'm walking through the house with my shoes in my hands, he's just like jumping and trying to grab them. So yeah,
So and what do you do to correct it when he's
same
jumping
thing.
at you? Same thing to get him to sit and hold him there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think you need to up the ante.
Yeah. What do you suggest? Should
Well,
I put a slip lead on
yeah, you could
before I
slip.
go?
I would say a slip lead for sure so that you could give him a little tug,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of a pop,
I
pop,
just don't think
pop.
that works anymore. It seems to not care.
Yeah. So that's what's like difficult about that. And I know I kept saying, and maybe I actually will this week, but bring over the prong.
Yeah. I mean, he's good at walking now with his gentle leader.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Because I
He
remember when
does
he was.
sometimes like stops and wants to go in the grass, but once he gets going, he's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. No,
Hmm.
it's just like jumpy and
The jumpiness, yes. The jumpy is brutal. It can be brutal.
mm-hmm.
Nobody wants a jumper. Yeah. So what did you remember when you tried the air horn? Did we talk about that last week?
No. Well, we talked about it, but not the results because I hadn't tried it yet.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So I got myself an air horn. Amazon.
Yep.
And because Ralph he jumps on the table. So his front paws, our table is high. It's kind of like a bar height.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he can only jump his two front paws on it. And he started doing it like just in front of me. Like just don't care. If I go like Ralph off, he would get off, but then he would just do it again. So I got an air horn and it worked. So I was making lunch, me and my boyfriend in the kitchen, and I started putting stuff on the table. So I
Mm-hmm.
started with the placemats. No, I started with a coaster.
Mm-hmm.
And did he jump at that point?
When does he normally start to jump? When he sees you preparing the table?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if I'm eating at the table, as soon as I get up and I step away, like just a little bit, he'll jump.
He'll jump. Ah.
Sometimes my boyfriend gets up and I'm still at the table and then he'll jump like right beside me and I'm still sitting there. So I think he did jump when I put like just the coaster on the table. Like he saw me put something
Mm-hmm.
and we were just kind of like doing our own thing. And as soon as he jumped, I blew the air horn, which was pretty loud.
Yeah.
And we just kind of kept doing what we were doing. And
Yeah.
he did not like it. It was like a, and then he jumped off and then he jumped again at some point. So
Yeah.
and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to put the placemats now.
Yeah.
And I think like he did it again. I don't know if it was just kind of like, what is this what caused the air horn? So I'll do it again.
Hmm.
And yeah, he didn't like it. I think he's jumped once or twice since.
What when you guys are eating, is he able to walk around freely, or do you put him in a spot?
He walks around freely, so that's something that we could do.
Yeah, because
Put
that
him
like
in
that's
place.
yeah, because that's one thing that I know my mother-in-law does, and it's what I do with my dogs. Now, mind you, they sneak into the dining room because one of my sons likes to feed from the table when we're not looking, or sometimes he'll come in to just even catch any crumbs from children
Hmm.
eating, right? Because children are like messy eaters. Anyways, so I keep them in place during dinner. So like again, it becomes pretty routine. And when they start to see you setting the table, they go to their place.
Right. Start
So
doing that.
you could try keeping them in place and see how it goes. Or again, if you know, like, so once you sit down at the table or once you put a placemat or whatever, and you know he's gonna jump, you put him in a sit stay or make
Yeah.
him lay down, and you tell him to stay there while you're doing it, so that he's not jumping at the table. Like like if they're doing it, then try to catch them right before by
Right.
having them focus like on a different task, or putting them in place. Either both
Yeah.
are the kind of the same thing. Sit stay. Give them something to focus on other than jumping at the table. Little punk.
Little punk.
Little
So
punk.
I put the pillows on the couch and he got distracted. So I'm like, okay, he's looking outside. I'm going to go. I think I was like going to brush my teeth. So I grabbed my toothbrush and toothpaste and I started brushing my teeth and I like ran back to the
Yeah.
living room to see what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I heard him jump on the couch
Yeah.
and he was just like throwing the pillows. So I I just like I grabbed my air horn and I did it. And he just got like startled. He jumped off and has not gone close to the couch since.
Awesome.
Well, actually, he went earlier, but the I took the pillows off.
Yeah.
Like while I can't watch him, I take them off.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then when I actually took the pillows to take them off and bring him where he can't reach them,
Mm-hmm.
he did not jump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be tempting to use that air horn since it works so well, but especially with him because he seems to adjust to things, I would save it for like your big time nose.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Well, it's going to
like
be the table and
yeah,
then um yeah, grabbing the pillows.
yeah. Who was it? So I was dog sitting a friend of mine recently, the German short-haired pointer, Ray. I think I
Ooh.
spoke briefly about introducing
Mhm.
a dog into your place and blah 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 and all that stuff. But anyways, they were telling me with Ray, because she's a German short-haired pointer and they tend to be like bird dogs, that anything that has feathers in it at their house, she like will go to town on. So many pillows were busted into by Miss Ray, and even they had their duvet cover, and they just woke up like in a sea of feathers one morning
Oh no.
because she ate the duvet. She was chewing at the duvet. Oh my god, it's so
Oh,
funny.
that's too
It,
funny.
it's like
How
it's
does she
funny, but it's
know?
not. I don't know.
Maybe
I don't
it's
know if she
yeah.
can smell it or I don't
Yeah.
know. But so it was funny because when she was coming over, my friend Mark said to me, like, anything with feathers, put it away. And I was like, okay, I don't think I have any feathery objects around here, but
That's funny.
I know that is funny.
Ray.
Re, re. Um, so were there other teenage behaviors too?
Yeah, so to go with the like forgets how to follow simple commands. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you'll see that they'll refuse to follow a command if you give it, but if a
Yeah.
stranger gives it, they'll obey the stranger.
Huh. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, they're getting used, they're testing their boundaries with you.
Yeah.
So this is another thing, and I had to do it with Gibbon, and I have to do it with Gibbon when he is with my dad and like not used to the boundaries and stuff, and comes back and is a little bit more testy with me, either through distraction or whatever his problem is at the time or whatever. But so you use your body language too. So let's say like the other day I had delivery people coming. I got a new set of dining room chairs.
Mhm.
And Gibbon, I think throughout the pandemic and stuff, really lost his front door manners. So the doorbell rings, he barks, he runs, and he charges the door now again. And I'm trying to get him used to sit stay at the door until whoever it is comes in and until I release him. And it's become like big time difficult for him because there was like nobody coming during the pandemic,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I found that with Ralph where I didn't have a chance to practice.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So,
I mean, I could have gone outside
yeah, like you
but
need
I
another
didn't really
person.
I didn't really
Well,
think about
no,
that.
no. And the other thing you can do is just like practice sit stays at the door where like you open the door and walk outside and make sure that they're sitting and staying there and like
Yeah.
bring things in and out. Like you can try that and go from there. But anyways, all that to say, when Gibbon's distracted at the door these days, when people are coming to drop stuff off or visitors are coming for whatever reason, and he's not listening to me. So if I say sit and then he goes to take his bum off, like I either go like and he'll sit back down, and if he tries to get up again, I step into him. I take a
Yeah.
step forward and like point at him like right in his face like and like when you walk into their space like that's intimidating to them and they sit back down and you just and do the look at me. Do you have a look at me command for Ralph Aronis?
Well, just when I say his name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember like if I'm walking him
Hmm.
and I go Ralph and he looks at me, I'm like, good boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a look at me.
Look at
I'll say
me.
I'll say look at me, and I'll do that like when he's waiting for his food. I'll say look at me. When he looks at me, then I say okay. I give him the command
Mm.
to go eat his food. And same with if there's a squirrel dancing on the fence, giving them the show of a lifetime, and they're like dying to go outside, like they're just raring to just take off.
Mm.
I'll have him sit stay. I slowly open the door and I'm like look at me. And when he looks at me, I say okay, and then give him like the release. So it might be another
Good.
good one where you're just like, so because it's teaching them like, dude, you need to be listening to me.
Yeah.
Never mind the squirrel. Look at your mama.
Yeah. That's good.
Look at your mama.
We've been doing the place command with his food.
Oh yeah.
So we'll put his bed, well, his bed is far enough from his where we feed him.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll bring his food out and then we'll go Ralph place and then he does like the spins all the way to his bed. And sometimes he'll like run right into the coffee table while he's spinning and I'm like, "Oh my god, he's going to hurt himself." He's like,
That's so
"Book,
funny.
ow." And then he
That's
sits
funny.
on his bed and then he
Yeah,
stays there until we release him.
that is hilarious.
Yeah, he spins. So we feed him at the entrance because we were feeding him in the kitchen, but now he's not allowed in the kitchen. Kind of want to feed him on ceramic tile.
Mm-hmm.
So the entrance it is. So it's kind of like a U. You have to do like a U from the kitchen to the entrance.
Yeah.
So he spins like all the way to the entrance.
That
But
is
yeah.
so funny.
And then
That
runs into the
is
coffee table sometimes.
that is hilarious. What a bunch of punks. What a bunch of punks.
Bunch of punks. Okay, what else do they do? Potty accidents.
Any of those?
No. He's been
Oh,
pretty
that's
good
good.
so far, but it can happen, I guess. Even if like your dog has not had any accidents for a long time and you think, they're past that age, they'll start having potty accidents.
Mm-hmm.
It's a teenager behavior.
Yeah.
Bratty behaviors like nipping, biting, barking, and jumping. Jumping, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Barking outside, I think. So when we dog sat Mochi,
Mm-hmm.
Ralph's cousin, she barks at the window. So I'm wondering if this is like a learned behavior.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's
Because
hard to tell.
yeah, you don't know.
Yeah.
And then biting, I find that he's more mouthy. Like it doesn't hurt,
Yeah.
but he's more mouthy.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so does it tell you how, where you were looking it up, does it tell you how does it give you suggestions on how to manage these behaviors?
It's just like whatever you were doing before, you just have to
Yep.
keep doing it, be consistent,
Yeah.
be patient,
Yeah.
mental, physical exercise. Yeah, I mean, you got to keep like whatever rules you had before, you just got to keep them and just
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just difficult, but you'll get through it.
Yeah, he'll
They
calm
said to
down
make them
eventually.
earn everything.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Everything. Hand feed
Yes. Yep.
to show them that you are like you hold the
You're
resources
in control. Yeah.
and to maintain a routine.
Oh, okay.
Other things you might see, if you have a male, they might start marking their territory.
Mm-hmm.
They might start straying, like to explore, mostly males, apparently. Aggression becomes more common.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of surprised about that.
Yeah. Well, I guess
I
it
don't
makes
know
sense
about
if
that.
their hormones are coming in, if they're a
Yeah,
teenager.
yeah, and guarding resources might suddenly appear.
Does Ralph guard anything?
No,
Oh, that's good.
he don't care,
Even with Mochi?
even with Mochi.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah,
good.
she'll
That's
just
very
come
good.
and like eat in his bowl, and he's just like, huh?
Well, that's
He's so like
excellente.
derpy,
Yeah.
very derpy.
A derperoo.
Yeah, he's a derperoo.
Yeah. I know that there's some people who will save like a specific toy for their dog. Like they'll be like, oh, well, he can share those, but this one's like really special to him. And I'm like, no, don't let them guard anything. I don't let them guard
Mm-hmm.
anything. Anything.
Yeah, share all of it.
Anything. Yes.
Share all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Ralph had a little trip to the neighbors this
Oh,
weekend.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So our backyard neighbors, they lost their golden retriever not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was about 5 or 6 years old. His name is Harry.
Oh,
And he was just gorgeous.
yeah.
Um, so we offered like not too long ago. We told them like if you want to keep Ralph for a couple of hours, like we'd be open to that. They just love Ralph. They have 3 little girls, and every time they see him, I call them like Ralph's fan club.
Yeah.
They're just like all over him. So, anyways, he went over on Saturday for 4 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and they brought him back, and the lady was like, she's like, well, this was good because now I know what to do to puppy proof my house. She's like, he jumps on counters. I'm like, yep. She's like, Harry never did that. I'm like, oh, you're lucky. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah. He was pooped.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
Ralph.
awesome that you're doing that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's almost like a puppy share. Like I've heard of this before. Like it's a legit thing where it's like you dog share with somebody.
But they're getting a puppy in November.
Oh my
A
God.
golden.
Oh
They're
my
getting a
God.
golden.
Well, they might have a counter surfer. You never know.
They might.
Is she
Probably.
getting from the same breeder or a different one?
She wanted to, but there was a very long wait.
Yeah.
So they reached out to another breeder, and they had a litter like that was, I guess, just born. And I don't know if somebody backed out or anything, but they had a dog for her.
That,
So
that's awesome.
yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
God. I wonder what the doggy's name is gonna be.
it's gonna be a girl.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bunch of names, they said.
Oh yeah. I know, I bet you with 3 girls they all want to like name her. I bet you it's gonna be a
Yeah.
Disney name. What do you think?
Oh, could
Elsa?
be. I don't know. One of the
Cinderella?
daughters. I'm not going to say her name. Never mind. I won't say her name on the
Mhm.
podcast. Yeah, I don't know. They had a bunch of names. I think one of them was like Hazel.
Oh, that's so
That is
cute.
very cute.
I like Hazel.
I like Hazel too. I think that was my
Oh,
favorite name. I think that's why I remember it.
yes. I vote for Hazel.
Hazel.
Naming dogs is just so freaking hard, man.
It is.
Kids and dogs.
We're
It's like,
already starting to find names for like our second dog.
are you guys gonna get a second dog?
I don't know. We probably will
Just eventually let Ralph
eventually.
settle. Let him kick the teenage.
But then it's kind of like, now that he's settled, like, do I want to go through that again already?
To me, it's like, remember when you were looking at like fosters or rescues or whatever? It
Mm-hmm.
like once you have your dog in a really good place, like I was really tempted. There was a Weimaraner up for adoption the other day I saw on the interwebs,
Do they
and it
train the other one?
yeah, I don't know. They might a little bit, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's literally, I was, like, daydreaming about it in the car, and I was like, "Okay, I can't get a 3rd dog 'cause, my dad will kill me," but also I don't I think 2 is, like, more than enough, like, I don't think I would ever be able to do 3 dogs.
No.
I think that's, like, too much, if you ask me, but I was thinking about it because I was like, "Oh, he was a cute Weimaraner." He, like,
Oh.
oh, he had a nice face. He had a beautiful of Weimaraner, and he was a dark blue. Like he looked a lot like Gibbon. Gibbon's still the
Mm.
cuter of the two, but he was very cute. And it was an older couple who had had Weimaraners before, but they were older now. And I don't think like this dog was particularly like hyper and having a lot of the anxiety stuff going on and that type of stuff, and they could not manage it. And it said no judgmental comments, please. Like we're just trying to find the dog like an appropriate setting. And I was like, I wonder how he would do, and I wonder if having like 2 other dogs around is more
Mm-hmm.
like helps with the anxiety and helps with that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And I can remember like bringing Gibbs home and trying to train with like Becky around and having to put her in a different room, and like how I would be able to manage that, or like maybe just do it alongside them as well so that he sees, oh, okay, if I sit and stay, then
Yeah.
I get to have my food. You know what I mean? Like, do they learn from each other? And I think it's an individual thing, like, it depends on the dog and their personality and that sort of thing. But anyways, I was daydreaming about that because he was like a super cutie toots. And
Oh.
I think like even for our next, like I was talking about a Corso and stuff like that, but sometimes I'm like, I'm very tempted to rescue
Yeah.
because it's like, to me, it's like the challenge of the training. Like, can you do it? Are you ready for it? And it's also very rewarding because sometimes if they have like a lot of behavioral issues and stuff, it's because like they didn't have a leader and they weren't comfortable and they didn't, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot to be done there, and it's super rewarding when you get a dog to trust you and then listen, and that it all falls into place and it has a good outcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I don't know.
Hmm.
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 Something to think about. Things that make you
Something to
go,
think
hmm.
about. Although it sounds like somebody in the household would really like to have a Saint Bernard.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big dog. That's a lot of dog.
It's a lot of dog poop.
It's a
It's a
lot of
lot of
dog
food.
and a lot of dog poop. It's funny. We were moving furniture around today, and I had to go and poopy scoop the backyard too because we were moving stuff into the backyard. And I was thinking, man, this like some of these poops are like really big. And I was like, it makes you think long and hard before you go for the larger breed dog. Cause you're like, man, if I'm like shoveling now, like I can only imagine what that's like. It's literally like,
Ralph's poop are so small.
yeah.
I think it's the raw food though.
Oh, maybe it
Oh,
could
speaking
be.
of raw food,
Mm-hmm.
I picked up a large order
Mm-hmm.
on Thursday
Yes.
and we put it in the fridge on Thursday, and usually we'll take one out every day so
Yeah.
that it thaws for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But we decided that we'll take two out, and we already had one in the fridge. So I did not go downstairs until Saturday morning, and our fridge was unplugged.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
So a lot of the lids were like popped off.
Oh no.
It stank, and it was
Ah.
all it was all like drippy. It was so gross in my
Oh
freezer. Sorry, not my fridge,
no.
but my
The
freezer.
freezer, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So we'll
There
make
was
sure your freezer's plugged in.
make
It
sure your
was plugged
freezer's plugged
in.
in.
We must have hit it somehow.
Um, who was a very long time ago? Like my husband and some of his friends were working for this company in our city, and I forget what it was called. I think it was called something like Service Ottawa or something like that. But basically, you showed up and you were just like general laborers. So like if you had to clean out a property, you'd go and just clean out the property, or you had to move like stuff from here to there, or like whatever and stuff like that. So anyway, so they got called to this like residence where this is a total like non-dogo like off-topic story, but anyways. On the topic of deep freezers. So the job that day was to clear out this basement, and it had been like abandoned, and there was like all this stuff down there. There was like broken tiles and like all this stuff. And anyways, there was this deep freezer that had been unplugged. So there was like rotten, disgusting stuff in it. So these two guys are carrying the deep freezer up the stairs, like they're just
Oh
carrying
no.
the whole thing. Yeah, and it opened and poured all over this guy, and he just could not stop vomiting. I can't even imagine.
Oh, gross.
Imagine being just like showered in like rotten meat. But anyways,
Oh, like just
yes.
like 2 days and it smelled.
Oh yeah.
So we
So
put it like
just
in black garbage bags, like doubled,
yep.
and it like it just looked like, I'm like, what do we look like? We look like we're carrying like a dead body out of the house.
Oh my
It probably
goodness.
smells like it too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh
No, so
yeah,
gross
that's the
and so
worst.
much money.
Yes, keep your eye on the deep freeze, everybody.
Yeah.
A bow show. Well, do I have time to talk about these couple of articles? Were you done with
Ooh,
the
yeah, I'm
teenager
done.
behavior? One thing that I'll say really quickly, as I'd mentioned today, for the past couple of weekends, we've been sort of doing a very small renovation to our home. So we were taking some French doors and priming and painting them a different color, and we're getting new furniture and moving stuff around. And anyways, today was sort of like the busiest part of like the last 2 weekends, where a lot of furniture was being moved. We were getting rid of like furniture, um, new dining room chairs were coming and stuff like this. And it really does like mess up the animals. They're like, what is going
Mm-hmm.
on? What are these new smells? Where do I go? They want to come and sniff it and everything the whole time. Like Becky just went upstairs and went to sleep because she was probably like, this is too much. I
She's like, I
can't
can't
deal.
take it.
Yeah, she's like, I will be upstairs. Let me know when it's over. Whereas Gibbon was just like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Who are these people? What's that smell? What are these new chairs like? Like, he was just like with me the whole time because they, number one, they are a Velcro dog, and number two, he's a bit younger, and number three, he was probably just like wondering what the heck is going on. But
Mm-hmm.
anyways, and I felt bad because he was just like, I just kept being like, place, like trying to keep him in place, which isn't really fair to him the whole day. But anyways, my boys were out because they had an engagement, but as soon as they got home, I was like, can you please do me a favor? Can you please just take the dog out for a walk? He's not with me. I can say the word. Can you please just go take him for a nice long walk and let him like have a good run in the field? Because it was probably just like all too much for him. And so they did, and he came back, and then like we have things that do look different around the house, but at least there are still like couches that were there before. And it was the first thing he did was he just went and just sat up on the couch and was just like,
Aw.
oh, like exhausted from it all. So even like stuff like that you don't think is a big deal or whatever, you're still at home, like even moving the furniture and stuff like that, it just like weirds them out.
Yes. Yeah.
Like we're waiting for delivery of another couch, and it's in this other room, so the other room is just like wide and open and bare, and there's nothing in it, and he just like was walking around like, but but like where'd the couch go?
There you go.
But where's the couch? But so keep that in mind, folks. Try to, if you can, plan an activity for your dog in there somewhere so that there's some sort of routine or
Mm.
normalcy or something where they can burn off a little bit of that nervous energy.
Yeah.
So, my husband, as I mentioned earlier, bought me this Time magazine edition. It's called The Minds of Dogs, and there's a variety of different articles in here that we can snoots about. But I just read the first couple of ones, and the first one was something that we had sort of talked about before. So I think we were addressing a list of things that your dogs like love. And remember we were talking about like eye contact?
Mm-hmm.
So this first one here was talking about how like eyes and gaze, and it probably this talks about the study that was sort of quoted in that list that we had made reference to earlier. But this was a study done in Japan where they were taking dogs and their owners and getting urine samples pre and post like cuddle sessions.
Of the
And
owners?
yeah, 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 both. Honest
Both?
to
Oh,
God.
okay.
Yes, both owners and dogs. And they were looking at oxytocin levels. So oxytocin is a chemical that's released like when you feel like love. It's like a hormone,
Mm-hmm.
and it skyrockets when, and it like again it compares to like breastfeeding moms, like when they're looking at their babies and breastfeeding and stuff like that, like your oxytocin is like through the roof and stuff like that. And so anyway, so in the first part of the study, urine samples were taken from 30 pairs of dogs and owners, both before and after sessions in which owners were petting and talked to and often just gazed at the dogs. So consistently, the oxytocin levels of both the dogs and the humans were higher at the end of the sessions, and usually about the same percentage for each owner and dog pair. But it was among the pairs in which there was more gazing and less touching that the oxytocin levels were the highest.
Ooh.
So and again, like it's really interesting. And I remember talking with Michelle about this, and they talk about like affection and like pets and stuff like that. And oftentimes when I'm like, in my room doing my schoolwork at night, and Gibbon's laying next to me, I always want to reach over and pet him because that's what feels good for me. But I wonder, like, am I bothering him? Is he like trying to sleep? And he's like, "What the heck? Why do you keep touching me for?" And so I often like think about that, and like this study sort of makes me think about that too. So I try to do a bit of both. I try to like stare lovingly into his eyes and pet him, which was talked about before, I think, on that list or whatever. But I found that interesting that that it was higher in the ones where they were just like gazing at each other.
Oh, that's
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, I don't like, because to me, I haven't figured out the whole like eye contact thing, because like we mentioned before, sometimes it's a dominance thing.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let them stare you down too intently, but again, it's about context. So if like you're snuggling and they turn your face up at you with their cutest little snoopy
Mm.
eyes and they just look at you, like obviously that's like a loving gaze and they're not like staring you down trying to alpha you. Like, but so like, some contexts are like, more obvious than others, but anyways, I found that interesting. So the next article that I read was called Inside the Canine Mind. So it was about this dude at which university? The University of Atlanta, who taught this pit bull, trained this pit bull to go into an MRI machine. And he was looking at brain activity in a variety of different manners and stuff like that. So what they did was they used these two different chemicals. So one smelled like a nail polish. I forget what it's called. I need to go and look for it again. But oh yeah, one was called like isoamyl, which smells like nail polish remover. And so they would waft a smell of that into the MRI machine, and then they would reward him with a piece of hot dog. And then they would waft another chemical in there called hexanol, which smells like grass clippings, but then
Mm.
he wouldn't get anything. And then when he came out of the MRI, they would put two cups on the ground, like with a treat covered, and one smelt like the grass clippings, like chemical, and the other one smelt like the isoamyl one. And obviously, he would go for the one that smelt like the nail polish remover, because
Oh,
that's what he associated like the
yeah.
hot dog, like the reward with, right? So that kind of was interesting, but like the basically like over this thing, there was nothing too like, oh my god, that's amazing. There was like no like super eye opener. Like they were talking, just basically they were comparing like dogs to like toddlers, and that they just found it interesting, and there was lots of different studies, but then various scientists sort of try to like debunk each other. So like, the stories about the dogs that like when their owner is hurt or injured, they go running for help. they're saying that that's like an exception to the rule because they did a study where it's like you were walking with your owner and they laid on the ground for like literally like half an hour and with people reading like close by and the dog didn't do anything at all. So like the reason why we hear about those stories is because they are fun and interesting and people like
Yeah.
enjoy hearing. It's like it's a good story, right? Like it's good news. So but that's typically an exception to the rule. But they do find it fascinating that dogs like have object permanence, right? So like they talk about a couple of different stories where it's like you take a yellow ball and you put it behind a barrier of some kind and then you pull out a blue ball and they won't sniff it as like they'll sniff it longer if it changes than if it didn't.
Okay.
So they can tell the differences like of like or if you like if you took like a dog bone that was like 2 centimeters and then replaced it with a bigger one, same thing. It's like they were just like what, like so again like
How did that
some of them
happen?
interpreted that they know like no this wasn't the same one and they'll go and they'll sniff the barrier because they're like what happened to like the real one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is like and it reminded me of those TikTok videos that people were doing where you know like you stand in a doorway and you hold a blanket up and
Yes.
then you poke your
Ooh,
head
I
out
gotta
and then
try
you hold
that.
it up. Yes, try that with Ralph Gibbon. It's so funny because as soon as I pull up the blanket, he comes and just like jumps into me on the blanket. Like I don't even get a chance to like drop it and like run away. Like I can't do it. He's just like, oh, he's like, it's like the running of the bulls. It's like I'm like holding like a flag on front of
Toro.
him, and he's like, all right, I'll come get
I'm
you
gonna have to
on the
do
other
that.
side of
I'm
that
gonna take.
blanket.
We'll have to do that.
Yes, definitely do that. The other thing that they were talking about, like that a lot of people, and I find it very interesting that several countries and universities are like conducting studies on dogs and dog behavior. There isn't anything like totally mesmerizing, but like they are a huge part of our lives, and it even talks about at the beginning of the article about like how people just like love their dogs and the dog is like as we've mentioned several times on our show a like multi-billion dollar like industry, right? What does it say? The American Pet Products Association projected that Americans spent 103.6 billion on pets in 2020,
Ooh.
just in the year 2020, which is a record high. Obviously everybody was buying the dogos during the pandemic. They're like I need a companion.
Yeah.
But so I find it interesting how many studies are going on, like, and they were talking about like, do they empathize? Do they love? Like, like, are they, do they experience jealousy? Because, and it talks about this one study where they were feeding like a mannequin dog like a treat, and and I think there is jealousy, like, or is it our own interpretations, right? So again, there
Maybe.
was like, they just talked about some of the research going on, and they talked about, like, again, like they were just sort of, there was nothing like very aha in this article. So I'll continue to read the other articles in this issue of Time magazine because it is interesting. But there is like a bond that's grown like leaps and bounds over it's 15,000 years that that we've domesticated dogs and had relationships with them, and which I found shocking kind of too. And it's just super cool, and like people I think are starting to question like if they have object permanence before like even a 3 or 4 year old does,
Yeah.
like what other things are they understanding that like we don't
That we don't
necessarily
even
know,
know.
right? And again, like look at why do I always bunny? We talked
Oh
about this
yeah.
doodle bunny where they gave her a vocabulary like buttons, and she can communicate like quite a bit of things. Like it's
Yeah.
insane. Like that's
Mm.
crazy. Anyway, so I'll read some more of these articles for us to boop snoods
To
about.
boop snoots. That's interesting.
I said we wrap it up right there for today.
It's a wrap.
But yes, good luck with your teenager.
Thank you.
I'll have to keep you posted on that. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll keep doing the place thing.
Try the place
I'll
thing
do
at
the
dinner.
yeah.
And if you find like you're, you know, trying to do something around the house with pillows and he's jumping at you, you tell him to sit, and if he doesn't listen to you the first time, try stepping into him or a hey and a point. Hey!
Yeah.
Dogs don't like it when you point at them. Hey!
No.
But give it a shot and see what
I will.
happens.
We'll talk about it next week
Yes.
on Let's Boop Snoots.
Let's boop Snoots. Thanks for tuning in. See you next
See you
week.
next week. Bye.
Boop.